What is up, Saints fans? Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone to put everything on hold. The season is finally upon us. Saints training camp starting this week. It's definitely the start of the season. I saw you shaking your head a little. I know we got to go through preseason a little bit too, but I mean, we got legit football conversations happening now, Jeff. What's going on, man?
Well, yeah, it is the start of the season for me. I'm not sure everyone else feels that way. But no, I agree completely. Like, this to me is when the season starts. Like, when I talk to my wife and I'm like, and it's like, oh, training camp starts this week. And she'd be like, all right, see you in February. Like, that's how it feels. Like, this is when it really, the rubber hits the road. Cause like, she's been laughing at me over the last month because I've been like sitting around catching up on all the TV shows I want to watch and doing all this and like thinking to myself, am I being lazy, or is this just me taking advantage of the very select downtime that exists throughout the course of the season? And I've decided, like, I'm not being lazy. Everyone else is judging me for the wrong reasons. But, you know, and listeners, I appreciate y'all coming back. We have taken mostly a month off, which I appreciate the decision to do, because I feel like I'm coming at this a little more energized than, you know, when you spend a month trying to come up with topics when there's nothing going on. I feel like you kind of lose the thread a little bit. So I'm excited. I feel good about this. We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to do kind of a make good mailbag, because the last time we tried to do a mailbag, the stream cut out and we just kind of disappeared with no explanation. So this episode, we're going to go back and do what we've done previously. So we're going to do kind of a combo episode on YouTube with a mailbag that gets broken out into a separate episode for the podcast. So this first segment, well, this is going to be a cold open. The first segment, we're going to go into all the news. We're going to talk about Tyler Shough's contract, another veteran defensive lineman that was signed. Tyler Shough also sat down with Jon Gruden, so we're going to have a clip from that, talk about it. Second segment for the podcast is going to be a Scott Shanle interview that won't actually be in the YouTube video. I will post that separately, probably tomorrow. Just haven't gotten around to editing it yet. It's a little easier to deal with the audio, so that'll be in the podcast. And then the third segment will be Saints Would You Rather. So we're going to have a 10 to 12 questions that we're going to dive into. Some are more serious, some are more fun. And then leading into that, that'll close out the podcast episode. Then we're going to have a live mailbag. So if you have comments, questions, whatever, throw them in the chat. We'll get to as many as possible. But just first things first, Steve, are you all geared up? Because this is the time of year where if you're looking for me on the Monday before training camp and you're trying to find me, there's a good chance if you go to like a TJ Maxx near my house, I will be wandering around trying to find the small, tiny little section they have for like sporting goods, right? Because I know they have cooling towels there. That's where I go every year. And on the way there, I check the clearance rack for like sweat wicking clothing that I don't mind like ruining and throwing away. Are you all geared up? Are you ready?
Yeah, definitely got the hat, the cooling rag, plenty of the I guess what did you call that? The dry fit, the shirts.
Yeah. Just
and
dry fit. That works.
Fresh new haircut too to cut down on the bulk weighing down on you.
Yeah, the only thing I got left to do is trim the beard. That's cool the face off a little bit. But I do want to say, so I've mentioned this a few times. I'm going to be giving out cards at practice, and I mentioned all these freaking cards.
Look for me. Jeff.
So I got the stickers in. We got stickers. So I'm basically treating these like business cards, and I got a whole pile of them. So I'm gonna bring a pile of them to just hand out to people. If you are a listener of the podcast and you want to come up to me and say, "Hey, I want a card," be a little more polite than that, but tell me that you listen to the podcast, because I will have kind of a separate pile that I bring exclusively for podcast people. And it's in part because I'll have some nicer cards that I want to give y'all, but it's also in part because the stickers are kind of expensive and I'm going to keep those for the people that don't know about the podcast. So again, if you see me out there, say my name, tell me you listen, and I'll have a separate stack that I give y'all. But only as long as this looks like a lot more than it is. It's like 20 cards right here. But they're all fancy. You see all that color in there? You see the shiny? I even got like a Deuce McAllister, Mike Thomas in the back here. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. I'm curious to see how it's received, because my goal is to give cards to people that they can then get signed by the players who were there. So you have something that, is suddenly more than $1, $2 card. It's a card with a signature on it that you can kind of mess around with.
That's going to ask you, is it all just current players? You got some former guys in there too.
Well, this pile here is mostly current players, but I do have some former players, like Mike Thomas is in there. There's an Archie Manning in there. So there'll be a whole thing. But I did want to just mention that at the top. So anyone who's out at practice, holler at me and get some free shit. Everyone likes free shit, right? Anyway, that's it. That's all I had. Anything else you want to mention before we hit a break here?
No, like you said, I was kind of lazy during this down period. Watched a whole bunch of movies and shows, and got to hit the beach for a little bit too. So definitely refreshed and anxious to get out to training camp. And yeah, back on the Inside Black and Gold podcast. It has been way too long for us. When we did that show on Friday, I was like, man, I haven't seen you in forever.
It does. It feels like forever. It really does. So I'm excited to get back to it. But all right, let's hit a break. We're going to come back, go through our rundown segment. Again, this is Inside Black and Gold. I am Jeff Nowak. He is Steve Geller. Make sure you get your comments, questions, hot takes in the chat, and we'll use those in our mailbag segment. Otherwise, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to leave a rating or review if you listen on Apple Podcasts. And stick around. We'll be right back. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak here alongside Steve Geller. Going into year 4 of the podcast, Steve. This is year 4 of the podcast. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is pretty wild to think. Hopefully that this is our championship year going into year 4.
And that's the thing. It's like we picked the worst possible time to start this podcast because one of the difficult things about growing a podcast is you want people to be excited to hear more about the team. Like you're like, I really love the Saints and I want to hear as much as possible. So I'm going to go find podcasts and pull all that information in. But when they're terrible, you push that information away from you as far as you can, unless you're like the diehard of diehard fans. And that's what I appreciate is that people who listen to our podcast have to be diehard fans, because if you were fair weather in the slightest, you would have said, get the hell away from me, like sometime between the last 2 years. Either way.
Yeah, last season for me too, Jeff, definitely, we haven't been around the block as some of the other beat writers, but definitely the worst season I've been around for this Saints squad. It was tough.
But it did create something, which was something new. So I do have to thank that season for being as bad as it was. Because if it was like another 7-9 season or 7-10 season, we might still be talking about Dennis Allen right now with Derek Carr. Well, definitely not Derek Carr, but we might still be talking about Dennis Allen right now. So I'd like to thank last season for making sure that didn't happen. But let's talk about this season. And the biggest piece of news that happened over the weekend is something that should have never been a question, but Tyler Shough signed his contract. 2nd round pick Tyler Shough. And as far as I know, the majority of the 2nd round picks, I don't know of any other 2nd round picks that are still unsigned or like in concern of not signing. But the whole debate, the whole question mark throughout the entire thing was, is Tyler Shough going to get fully guaranteed 2nd round pick contract? And he did. The Saints, I do believe, lucked out in this situation, because the nightmare scenario was going to be teams ahead of them who had some question of whether they wanted to fully guarantee their draft picks contract could have played hardball and said no. And the Saints were in a position where it's like, we don't want to wait this out. We have a quarterback. We need to get into camp. And we also have a quarterback who's going to have more reasonable demands of saying, hey, you want me to be your quarterback? Guarantee my freaking contract. And the Saints ended up being the cutoff point. Every pick past number 40 did not get a full guarantee. They got a pretty high guarantees. Like Mason Taylor at the 42nd overall pick got a 91% guarantee, which is basically fully guaranteed. But there is kind of a statement being made when you give somebody a fully guaranteed contract, because next year, your 2nd round pick's going to be like, well, you gave that guy a fully guaranteed contract. Why don't I get one? And at least the Saints can say, well, he was a quarterback. What are you? So I think the Saints kind of were able to save face a little bit, because every pick ahead of them also got a fully guaranteed deal. And the Saints also threw in some language, I think, to appease Tyler Shough in the whole quarterback conversation, that he gets his full salary as a signing bonus on the first week of every training camp. So he's going to be excited. Like, we get excited to go out to training camp. Tyler Shough's going to be excited to go out to training camp every year, because it means he's getting like a $3 million check.
Cha-ching, right.
So anyway, that's where we are. And so, we don't have to talk about it until next year. It's going to be another conversation next year because that's going to shift further and further down toward, okay, now do the top 50 get fully guaranteed deals? But we at least don't have to worry about a quarterback holdout to start camp.
That's for darn sure. Like you said, the Saints did get lucky. Things got slotted in where it was just like, all right, this is what's happening. We're going to go with it. The only problem is now, like you mentioned though, too, is there's that precedent set now for these second round picks that it's like, well, last year the first 10 guys got fully guaranteed, so why not me?
Yeah, and teams don't want that, right? Like there's actually, as far as I know, there's no language in the CBA that says all first round contracts are guaranteed. It was just something that was negotiated over time until the point was like, it's not worth the argument anymore. We're just going to give it to them. And that's why teams are trying, we're trying to some extent to be like, no, we're not just going to cave and give all second rounders fully guaranteed contracts, even though I think they should, because then, we're still going to have this conversation, but it's going to be about the third rounders. And then we're going to keep doing this. And then it's going to be the third rounders who don't show up to camp. And then just, like teams want to avoid that. They're all annoyed at Nick Caserio, who is the Texans GM, because he immediately just said, hey, Jaden Higgins, take a fully guaranteed deal, which meant the Browns had to give Carson Schweschinger, the first pick of the second round, a fully guaranteed deal. And that just kind of kicked everything off. But we're past it now. So we're just going to start talking about the quarterback competition. And I did find it interesting. Tyler Shough went and chatted with Jon Gruden, who, Jon Gruden's now with Barstool. He doesn't do the Gruden's QB camp anymore, but he kind of does it. It's not called Gruden Goes Long. Yeah. And so he sat and chatted with Tyler Shough. So let's hear a clip of that interview with Tyler Shough and Jon Gruden. Here you go.
Quarterback are you? What are your strengths?
Yeah, I think for me it's that arm quickness, the ability to get it out at different arm angles, stretch it down the field, be able to attack any coverage. And I think the biggest thing that I've been able to kind of cultivate is that mental sharpness, is getting into it pre-snap wise, trying to get into the best look. I was in 5-6 different offenses in college, so was asked to do a lot from, at first not very much, a lot of RPOs, you're kind of running what you run. And then I think my last couple of years at Tech and at Louisville got the keys to the car a little bit more, and it helped me out. And still got a lot to learn, and brand new offense for everybody with Coach Kellen. So I'm fired up to continue to learn it, try and master it, and go earn it.
Jeff Brom at Louisville is a great coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think he helped you really big time, because I see a lot of NFL concepts. I even saw a snap count at Louisville. What was your snap count at Louisville? Give it to me.
Green 18. Green 18's up.
You sound just like Aaron Rodgers, man.
Yeah.
At Oregon, what were you guys doing?
Ready.
Oh, my God. What about at Texas Tech?
Ready.
You killing me, man.
All right. I forgot to reset that little video thing from the last thing we did, which was the 3 weeks ago at this point. So it's a little box at the top. But no, so that was Tyler Shough with Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden's disdain for the clapping is kind of hilarious to me, because basically colleges, they're getting more and more are just doing this, the clap instead of a cadence. And that's how they trigger the snap. And, I do think that when we talk about Tyler coming into the NFL and more ready as some other quarterbacks, it's a lot of it is from that last year with Jeff Brom. And there's value in going from school to school and learning system. But like a lot of quarterbacks in college don't even play under center. They don't have a snap count. They don't make checks at the line. They do check with me's on the sideline. Like it's hard to gauge sometimes whether a guy's going to show up at the NFL level and be able to do that stuff. Because like NFL teams don't want to have to teach quarterbacks how to be a competent quarterback, right? Like they want them to come in and like teach them high level quarterback things. But in so many instances, because of how colleges operate, you have to teach them the fundamentals of playing behind center and like taking a snap and how to run the play action from under center. And that's something that you don't have as much time in practice to do as you once had. And I think that's one of the difficulties and why you don't see as many young quarterbacks getting opportunities, is because a lot of teams just don't have the patience to sit there and teach a guy that. And that's why there's a value, and we talk about it, of Tyler coming in ready. And that's what that answer kind of showed you.
Yeah, and just curious to see the whole we talked about this with Scott Shanle, which we'll get into later, but the reps that are going to be divvied up at practice between Shough, Rattler, Haener, and of course Deckers as well. Just seems like a lot of guys trying to eat in a competition right now.
Yeah, and we'll see. We talked to Scott Shanle. We're going to play that interview, and he kind of agreed. It was like, you can have three guys competing, but it's really tough to split 3 reps between 3 different guys. Like, it's more likely that you have 2 in mind and a third guy who could, if he plays well enough, or if one of the guys ahead of him plays poorly, kind of flips into. So we'll see. I think you're probably going to have that happen at first, is like you see the 4-4-4 or whatever it is, and then it's going to change quickly once you get toward that first preseason game. But
yeah, and we'll see where Haener is too with his health.
Yeah, I expect Haener to be a full go. I really don't think, one of the questions, and we're going to hear from Mickey Loomis and Kellen Moore tomorrow afternoon. Probably not going to have enough time to do anything with it on the podcast because it's a quick turnaround. If there's any breaking news, I'll try to get something done. But I don't think health, other than Taysom Hill, Dallin Holker, and Foster Moreau, I don't think health is going to be a question we have about a lot of guys, which is nice. So a couple other pieces of news before we move on. Jerry G mentioned it. He says he loves the new Saints helmets, but keep in mind, tomorrow we're going to get uniforms of some kind. I would guess gold. I think that's probably what we're going to see, is they're going to bring out a gold jersey that people have been asking for. They did it for one game in 2002 or 2006. I can't even remember. What would you like to see if you had a choice on the jersey?
See, to me, with the white helmets, I think that color rush look seems perfect to me, because when they brought out those black helmets and they were pairing them with the white unis, it wasn't a fit for me. I wanted to see the black on all black. So for me, I'm curious to see how this new uniform is going to look. And is that going to go with the new helmet? That's the expectation, or we don't know?
No. The new helmet is the new helmet is basically a color rush helmet. They're going to wear it. I mean, maybe that changes over time, but this season, my understanding is the plan is to wear those exclusively with the color rush jerseys, and then who knows what happens over time. So these new jerseys are, maybe they're a jersey that's supposed to match with the black color rush helmets or the black helmets. I don't know, but we'll find out on Tuesday, which is when they said that the announcement was going to be made. And we'll see. I'm excited about it.
You couple of the gold stuff. That's something that Cam Jordan's been clamoring for. He was in the intro video, so a lot of people are connecting the dots there, thinking that it is going to be that gold jersey people have been asking for.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking for that for a while, so it would only make sense. It would be kind of strange if it was something else. But I do think you have to be careful, because that gold has to be the right gold.
Yes, otherwise, I agree totally.
And I know this is kind of graphic, but if you get the gold wrong, or like, for example, you have a gold where it changes hue when you get sweaty, then you have this kind of like weird, like urine looking quality. And like I think that's one of the reasons that they've avoided it, is because gold doesn't always translate well in a jersey. And you see it from a distance and it just kind of looks like I think that's why the Steelers are a lot more vibrantly yellow than gold. But either way, that's a whole nother conversation that I'm sure has been had internally quite a bit. 2 more things. One, Saints signed Jonathan Bullard, a defensive lineman. Haven't seen a corresponding move yet, so we'll see. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's players going on the PUP list ahead of camp, and that's where you're going to free up that roster spot. It's just another defensive lineman, another guy who has familiarity with Brandon Staley. Bullard was a 3rd-round pick back in 2016. Staley wasn't on the staff at that point, but Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator for the Bears when Jonathan Bullard was picked. Brandon Staley joined in 2017. He was there through 2018. So there was crossover. He obviously played on the same type of defense you're going to run. Brandon Staley is a Vic Fangio kind of disciple. It's not exactly the same, but you look for the same type of players. More of a run-stuffing interior lineman. He had a rough stretch with a few teams. He was on the Cardinals, he was on the Seahawks, and he was on the Falcons. Only appeared in, I think, 31 games over those 3 seasons. But he's been with the Vikings the last 3 years, the last 2 in particular, 17. So he appeared in all 34 games over the last 2 years with the Vikings, started 31 of them. So like it's a good addition, a guy with a ton of experience who's played in this type of system and kind of profiles to be the more kind of run stuffing defensive end in this system that you kind of need. We need someone to do that, whether it's Colin Saunders, Nathan Shepard, Brian Brzee. Someone's got to step into that role. So I think it's a good addition in my opinion.
Yeah, I like it too. Like you mentioned just right there, just for the run stuffing, a boost to that in any way is good for this squad that struggled mightily last season. Second worst, gave up 4.9 yards per carry last season. And I was really surprised. That was one of the areas that they didn't move on from a Nate Shepard or Colin Saunders and opted to, they brought them back because I thought that the run stopping issues were a glaring negative for this front seven that the Saints had up, with that D line. And they got Godshaw's coming in, but other than that, there was no other real additions to that.
They did draft Vernon Broughton in the 3rd round, so he'll be an addition to that group. But no, I agree with you. Like, I expected more turnover. I think it was kind of like, we have these guys under contract. Why not just make this a massive
See if
competition?
it works. Yeah.
And like, I don't think that being here last year was going to guarantee Colin Saunders, Nathan Shepard, and these guys a spot, but it didn't make sense to just cut them outright. And now you have a situation where, I don't know, like, other than Brian Brzee and Devon Godshaw, I don't know if there is a spot nailed down on that front seven.
Yeah.
Or at least the defensive line. So we'll see. But I think that whole group is going to be a competition, and guys like Jonah Williams and Jonathan Bullard are not going to be household names right now, but very well could be the guys who come out of that competition with roles. And so then your turnover happens. One more thing to mention before we hit the break. Saints, I don't want to say that they changed their normal, but this is kind of the new normal probably. The Saints updated their training camp practice schedule. They have a much later starts in several instances than we're used to. So, for example, Wednesday's practice is going to be kind of the normal 9 a.m. start, going to run till 10:20. But Thursday is an example of a practice that's not going to start until 10:15 and then run until 11:20. There's also a practice on Tuesday, July 29th, that is from 11 to 11:55, but that's closed to the public. So I would guess that's an inside practice. And that makes sense. And then you'll have a couple more. Another one Saturday is open 10:15 to 11:50. So you'll be able to sleep in a little bit more, but you will get more of the glaring midday sun, which I have a feeling there's been a lot of internal conversations because Kellen's not a morning person. Kellen's a night person. That's his personality. And I'm sure he wanted to practice later in the day, and they were like, Kellen, not only is that a terrible idea, I don't think we can functionally do it because we have thunderstorms every day at 1 p.m. That's Louisiana in the summer. You can always get a thunderstorm in the middle of the day. We'll be constantly running inside. And that's only on the days where you're not asking people to risk their lives out at 110 degree heat. And it's you're going to have fans out there. They're going to be dropping like flies if you ask them to go out there and noon. And so I part of me wonders if why are you doing this kind of weird trip to California with no joint practices? It's probably because he was so if we go out to California, can we practice at 11?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure, Kelly, you can do that. Anyway, so there's going to be some later practices this year. So we'll see how that goes. We
kind of talked a little bit of Friday's show about it, but man, what are you doing though, Kellen, with all these staggered times? I'm going to have to remember, wait a minute, this day practice starts what time? And I think there's 3 or 4 different start times. So I'll definitely have to be keeping a handy training camp schedule in front of me so I know what day at what time I need to be there.
Yeah, I'm a very routine-based person, so it does mess with me.
It's 9 o'clock. Yeah. It's 9 o'clock, damn it.
Yeah, just start every day at the same time. That way, because I need to know when to wake up, when to leave. At the end of the day, we're going to football practice, so it's it's not like we're lining up for surgeries here. But, no, it's interesting, and it's just an example of okay, how are things going to change?
Yeah,
with a new head coach and some new just decisions and operations, and I think that's just one example of it. And I think this has been a kind of running dialogue because once you send out a schedule, you expect that to be the schedule. It's funny to me that it changed, but hey, it is what it is. And that's the last bit of news I have. Is there anything you want to hit before we move on?
No, like you said, with the change too, we have a new coaching staff in here. So yeah, things are going to be looking a lot different. And yeah, we kind of got hit with that. Nothing huge or major, but definitely out of the norm to have 3 or 4 different start times for training camp practices.
Yeah, I'm just glad we're not talking about holdouts. So that
Amen, right.
is what it is. Everyone's going to be there, or at least the healthy guys are going to be there, and we're going to move on. But all right, that's the end of that segment. That's the end of the rundown segment. I'm Jeff Nowak. He is Steve Geller. This is Inside Black and Gold. We're going to move on. If you are listening to this on the podcast feed, you'll get an interview that Steve and I did with Scott Shanle, former Saints linebacker, Super Bowl champion. Scott Shanle dove deep into training camp. On the YouTube channel, I'll plan to post that tomorrow morning. But if you on the YouTube channel, plan to post that tomorrow morning. And for the YouTube audience, we're going to roll straight into a Would You Rather segment. Answer some questions getting into camp. And again, we're going to close out with a mailbag. So if you have comments, questions, make sure to get them in the chat. And we will get to as many as possible. But until then, who dat? Go Saints. We'll be right back. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. It is officially a Lunch Pods edition because it is now noon Central. So grab your peanut butter and jelly, lock in. We're gonna be diving into a Would You Rather segment. I've been trying to think of like different ways to hit topics, and so I spent this morning coming up with Would You Rather questions. And so we're gonna dive into it. And the first question is going to be training camp themed because the question is going to be for you, Steve. Would you rather Saints practice outside every day or inside every day? What would you prefer?
You know, this is going to sound cheesy, but I'm going to take the outside every day because I do like having the fans out there being a part of it.
I agree. As much as I love trips into the air conditioning when it's
right.
I do think these practices lose something when the fans don't get out there. Like I felt that way all throughout camp practices in California last year. I was like, This would be way more entertaining with fans here. It just is. It just
want to put on a show more.
I'm sorry?
Players want to put on a show more in front of the fans.
Yeah, but the irony of that is they actually probably show less. Like the team probably
I hear you,
holds a little back because there's so many people out there. But at the same time, like I do think, the players get into it. The players get excited. Like you'll have situations where, it's guys you've never even heard of catch a pass and everyone like, oh man, Bub Means, woo, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like I'm learning his name in real time here, but I'm excited about it. And so I agree with you. If I had to pick, if it was all or nothing one way or the other, it would have to be outside every day. I actually get annoyed I was kind of annoyed during the OTA practices. They kept going inside. Because I was like, I don't know, like it just doesn't. Plus, they keep it up.
You say that because I was kind of, I don't know if annoyed's the right word, but I let down, I guess, that the final mini camp practice was canceled. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, we only get so many chances to go out there and see these guys. So, and the fans only get so many chances to go out there and see them. So,
plus, besides just I guess you would say the full team practices, even those one-on-one sessions are so much more intense with the fans around.
We never see one-on-ones anymore. I miss one-on-ones. Okay, next one. Would you rather Spencer Rattler starts all 17 games and goes 8-9, or Tyler Shough starts all 17 games and goes 5-12? Pick one.
I'm gonna have to go with the better record of 8-9, just because last year that 5-win season, I think it aged me. Now I got the haircut, got away from the beach, so looking a little bit better, but. That was definitely a rough season overall, just between the coaching, the players getting hurt. So definitely give me the 8-9 season. I'll take Rattler starting all 17 games.
Yeah, it's tough. And if people watching, throw your answers in the comments too. I'm curious what y'all think when we talk about these. I want to throw some of your answers up there as well. But yeah, I'd go. It's tough because I don't mind starting Spencer, but if I don't like the idea of all 17 if it's going poorly.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick one or the other, it would be Tyler starting all 17.
But 8-9's not like terrible.
No, well, 8 and 9 is just enough to keep Tyler and Spencer in that job, right? Yeah. It would depend how you got to 8 and 9. If you were like 8 and 5, and it was like, wow, this is great, but then you kind of fell off a cliff and lost like the final 4 games, that would be at least an entertaining way to do that. If you're like 4 and 7, and you go 4 and 2 down the stretch, and like,
yeah, I hear you. The win 1, lose 1, win 2, right. Drop another 3. That's not fun.
If it's 8 and 9 where you had a chance at a really good draft pick and just ruined it for yourself, that would be annoying to me, right? Like I would rather throw the rookie in there to get experience and lose games, because rookies lose games. It's just the reality. But so
that would be my answer. So many people with Shoug's contract now being fully guaranteed feel like, oh, the job is just his, and that's not the case.
That doesn't mean anything. That's just the structure of the deal. Like the difference is like $2 million guaranteed. It's the same value. Nothing changed the value. It's just the players trying to make a statement. But yeah, that's what I would say. Like if the options on the table are Rattler has to start all 17 or Tyler has to start all 17, I'm going with Tyler. That's just me personally. All right, moving on. Next question. It's another Tyler Shough question, so we'll do it again. Okay. Would you rather Tyler Shough plays good enough to make you feel like we're going to have to stick with him and the Saints go 6 and 11, or Tyler Shough clearly doesn't have it, the Saints go 2 and 15, and they land the top quarterback in the draft, whoever that may be?
And I know a lot of people are expecting it to be Arch, but we've talked about it a ton and don't expect him to be that guy.
That's the question. If it was Arch, I think I would be on that side of it, but I can't say for sure it's Arch.
Yeah, for me, I'm hoping for at least then it looks like Shough is that guy, and you're looking to build off something going into next year. So give me 6 and 11.
Yeah, I think you have to go that route. Like I just don't think it's a healthy fandom to be like rooting for the young guy to not be good enough. Right. Like I get the idea. I get why people might think that way. Like the same way, the same way I was like, hey, I actually am grateful that last year went so poorly because it meant we got to move on from the Dennis Allen era. I just think looking at that at the front and hoping for that is just, I don't know. I don't like that. I've never been that's just not the way I fan. If everyone can fan their own way, I can't endorse it.
And after 5-win season, there's no way in hell I'm rooting for a 2-win season.
Right. God, I think that is part of it for me. It's like I have to stand on the sideline whether
there you go, right?
The record is 2 and 14 or the record is 14 and 2. Like I guess if I could turn it off and be like fast forward to next season, so that does color it a little bit for me. But all right, we're gonna move off of the quarterback conversation and get into more. Here's one that you threw in. I've got the WRY backwards, but here. Would rather you, based on how I wrote this,
okay, Yoda,
a sophomore surge for Kool-Aid or Bub Means? If you had to pick
I am hoping I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on this one just because of the need at cornerback position. Bub, we didn't get to see too much of last season due to injury, so definitely hoping for that little bit of growth going into year 2 for him. But I think Kool-Aid is definitely a way more important piece to this team, and they need him to take that leap right now.
Yeah, I would agree with you because the thing is, like, for Bub Means to have like a legitimate sophomore surge, it would probably be because one of Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed is not available, and that's not what you want. Like, my hope is that both of those guys play 17 games, and the question marks behind them don't ever have to get answered because you don't need your 5th or 6th wide receiver to play big roles. Like, so that's my hope, and so. For that to be, if that's the case, and Bub kind of spends another year in the background, and Andy Shearer kind of says this, I can't see Bub getting many reps. Well, exactly. Like if Bub's getting a ton of reps, it probably means that something bad happened to your wide receivers. So I'm gonna be on your side, and hopefully it's Kool-Aid. And I agree with you too. Like I think his value to this team in terms of what you need out of him is a lot more significant than Bub. So I'm gonna agree with. He was also a 2nd round pick, and you really don't want to miss in your 2nd round picks. Like you got to hope your 2nd round picks.
Would rather you.
Right. Would rather you. All right. Next one. Okay, this is kind of a more fun one. Would you rather Saints shut out the Falcons twice, go 2-0 against the Falcons, shut them out both times, or the Saints go 1-1 against the Falcons, but that one you come back from 28-3 down to win the game?
Give me the 2 wins in the shutouts against the Falcons. There's enough 28-3 jokes out there, including with the latest Coldplay fiasco I've seen going on, mocking the Falcons even. But yeah, shutting out the Falcons twice in the season. Oh man, that's gold for Whodats.
What is the Coldplay meme? Did they do something with Coldplay?
The whole
I know the CEO or whatever. Yeah, but how did it relate to the Falcons?
They showed him in the beginning smiling and holding, and it's 28-3. And then they realize they're on camera, and she's hiding her face and he's ducking down.
Yeah, okay.
And it has the final score with the Patriots winning.
The funniest one I saw was at a Phillies game, and they did like the Philly fanatic, and I didn't even know there was a female Philly fanatic, but apparently there is, and it was very good. It was very good because they were doing like a Coldplay kiss cam.
Oh man, the NFL memes all around. I guess sports memes all around. I've had a field day with that. It's been fun.
It's just so funny how stuff like that like kind of picks up steam. Like there's like that could have also just disappeared in 5 seconds if like the right person hadn't gotten a hold of it, but the right person did, and suddenly it's like everyone. It's like that Ashton, not Ashton Hall. Maybe it was Ashton Hall, the guy who dunks his face in water every 30 seconds. And
I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's the same principle as that. Like that was everywhere for 30 seconds. You couldn't avoid it.
It reminded me too, the Hawk Tua girl. Like every other day, there was something new coming out.
It's hilarious how stuff like that, like if the right person gets a hold of it and shares it in the right moment at the right time to the right people, suddenly it's this national, worldwide phenomenon, and this ruins this guy's life. But hey, the memes are fun. Okay, here's another Falcons one, but we kind of answered it. I would definitely go 1-1 and come back from 28-3 down. But that's because I'm a petty person, and like if you sweep the Falcons, people will forget about that 3 years down the line. The Saints have swept the Falcons. We've seen it happen. Yeah. But if you come back, if that happens again, and the Saints did it to them,
but sweeping them with a shutout too.
What? Oh, with the shutouts? Yeah, I guess they haven't shut them out twice. I should have just said swept the Falcons because a shutout does feel a little tantalizing. 2 shutouts in a season, but I don't know. Like I'm so petty that I would be like, man, 28-3, but that would be worth it. Even in a bad season, that'd be worth it. Here's another one. Saints go 9-8, but get swept by the Falcons, or go 8-9 and sweep the Falcons.
Give me 9-8 because it gives us a little bit of hope of winning the division, I would guess.
Yeah, I'm still taking. I'll lose again. I'll lose an extra game to sweep the Falcons. I care enough about that.
If you haven't noticed, Jeff, it's just the missing the postseason has definitely worn thin on me, and it's only been. I know other franchises have been mired for years and years and years. It's been 4 straight here, and it just seems like an eternity.
Yeah, most people in the chat are agreeing with you. They're like, "Oh, well, you sweep them twice. I could give up." Because here's the thing, like that's the other element to the 28-3, and I know I'm kind of merging these, but like that would mean that you lost one game, and then we're down 25 points in the second game, so your season's not going great. Like you were bad, and the Falcons just are better at losing. That's what that would mean. So
right,
I understand.
The Falcons are being the Falcons.
I understand where you're coming from. But all right, let's move on. Here's a good one. Saints win the NFC South, but lose in the first round of the playoffs, or Saints make the playoffs as the last wild card and win a playoff game.
Oh man, give me the lanyap of winning the playoff game and at least moving on. So I'll take the last wild card spot. I don't care how they get in. I just want to be part of the postseason.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that because I think in this season you're not looking at the Saints as a playoff winning team. You're looking at this season as you make the playoffs and suddenly you're on the right track. And so I would take the division title because that's a title, right? Like, and that would end the Bucs run. I'm tired.
But then you're one and done.
I am tired. Yeah, but they're probably going to be 2 and done if they win a game. Like, I am so tired of hearing about the Bucs and their Mickey Mouse 9-8, 10-7 division titles. I'm tired of it. End it. Stop. I want to hear people stop talking about the Bucs as if they're this massive success story when they're winning the division with 9 and 10 wins or 8 wins. They won the division 8-9, 9-8, 10-7. That's their dominant run of division titles. I'm tired of it. They're not that good. Have them finish third so we can all talk about how they're not that good. I'll lose in the playoffs if it comes at the expense of everyone realizing the Bucs aren't that good.
They just happen to be in the South.
South in the NFC South. Exactly. They might have won one of these division titles. They were a decent team last year. They probably should have won more games, but like they weren't winning another division 3 years ago. They weren't winning another division 2 years ago.
That's like, something off. The Bucs did win a playoff game at least. They weren't just one and done in all those 4 years. They beat the
Eagles. The Eagles fell off a cliff that year. Anyone would have beaten the Eagles. If the Saints at 9-8 had won that tiebreak and gotten to the playoffs and hosted the Eagles in the playoffs, they would have beaten the Eagles that year.
Man.
They beat the Falcons by 30 points in the final game.
Right.
Like they were dominating. They beat the Bucs in week 17 that year. And they beat them pretty handily. Anyway, so that's my take. Oh, here's another one. This is a good one. Okay. Would you rather Saints host the NFC Championship in 2025? So we get that Sean Payton first year type run this year with Kellen Moore. And you could say it's impossible, but we've seen it happen. Saints host the NFC Championship in 2025, but miss the playoffs until 2030. Or Saints go 3-14 in 2025, but make the playoffs every year until 2030. Which one?
I'm going to do the sacrifice of this season then for that fact out of making the playoffs every year until 2030. If we just win 3 games this year, I'll just have to bite down and bear it. A worse year than a year ago. 5 wins to 3 wins. At least you get a better, draft positioning out of it. It'll be rough, but to make the playoffs constantly till 2030 after this season, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you again. I'm going to have to. And it's because I grew up as a Giants fan. And so I have this experience of like, I grew up as a Giants fan surrounded by Patriots fans. And this was the exact opposite end of the spectrum, right? Now, obviously the Patriots won all the Super Bowls, so it's a little different, but I've also watched the Saints do it, right? So like I watched the Giants go into the playoffs and win a Super Bowl in 2009 and not be good, really. Like, they were good the next year, but then Plaxico Burress shot himself in the leg, and then it kind of fell off a cliff. And then they showed up in 2012 again and won another Super Bowl, and then they've been terrible basically ever since. They've made a playoffs a couple times. But I wouldn't trade those 2 Super Bowl wins. If you ask me whether I'd rather be a Giants fan or a Patriots fan, I'd pick still being a Giants fan. Because those Super Bowl wins and the NFC Championship, like, it doesn't say you won't win the Super Bowl. It just kind of cuts off and says we don't know what happens. You also don't know what happens when you make the playoffs those times. But like, if you asked me, would I rather have the Giants run from like 2009 or 2012 to 2015, or the Saints run from 2017 to 2020? I'm picking the Giants because I want that Super Bowl. We still talk about 2009 like it was yesterday. That means something. No one ever talks about 2017 other than that one game, right? No one ever talks about 2018 other than that one game. Like that, the Super Bowl season, it's still like, I don't know. When you get a chance to go to the NFC Championship, I'll sacrifice 3-4 years to get it done. I will. But that's just where I am. That's why
they did that. The year they went and with Sean Payton's first year against the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and then they were bad the next year. I guess not bad, but they were 7-9.
Like I said, I'd rather sacrifice this season and then have the consistency for the next 4 years going to the playoffs.
See, you're the far more rational person in this conversation, and I appreciate that about you. I really do. Okay, a few more. Okay, would you rather Chris Olave 1,500-yard receiving season or Alvin Kamara 1,500-yard rushing season?
Man, I don't know. I would love to see a Chris Olave 1,500-yard receiving season, because that would definitely say hello to the rest of the NFL and to any of the doubters that think, oh, this guy isn't a true number 1 wide receiver. Kamara, what he can do in the run and pass game, we know is so valuable. He's a super freak of an athlete. Chris Olave having a huge bounce back year from his concussions. And like I said, to kind of rub it in the face of folks who don't consider him a number 1 guy.
Yeah, see, again, I agree with that. But at the same time, I'm going to be a lot more emotional about it and say, like, I just hate the idea that Alvin Kamara is going to get to the end of his career and he's got this like Super Bowl, or Hall of Fame caliber resume. And the one caveat that's going to exist on is never rushed for 1,000 yards. And that's going to stick with him, right? Like, he's going to be the Saints all-time leading rusher. He's going to be whatever, but never rushing for 1,000 yards just feels like, even though it's like, obviously he would have got there if he missed the final 3 games, he had like 950. I just want one season for Alvin to put a stamp on his career where he just dominates from a
This
rushing.
could be it with Kellen Moore for sure. So that could happen.
But at the same time, like I see where you're coming from, which is like Chris Olave could be a superstar wide receiver. We just need to see him be a superstar wide receiver. And to get to 1,500 yards, you got to play 16 games minimum. Because that would be 100 yards a game, basically. So we'll see. But I agree with you. But I don't agree with you at the same time. That's why it's weird.
You're taking both sides.
Would you rather? Well, this is going to be the last one. Would you rather the Saints have a top-ranked offensive line or a top-ranked secondary?
Man, I will go with the top-ranked offensive line because that shows the investment that they've put into it is paying off. Hopefully, Trevor Penning is thriving at the guard position now and looks like he's at least worthy of a high draft pick and not considered a bust anymore. And just the offense is going to run a hell of a lot better in the passing and run game with a top-notch offensive line. So give me O-line here.
Yeah, I agree with you for a few reasons. One, we've seen the Saints with a top offensive or top secondary and bad offensive line. I don't like what it looks like. And second, in this situation, like if I had Drew Brees, I could probably survive with a more middling offensive line because he can make them look a lot better than they are because he can think the game a lot better. With a young quarterback, and the Saints will have a young quarterback, whether it's like we could say, Haener even, he's still a third-year guy, right? Even if Haener shows up and is like wow, he's still a young quarterback. Rattler, yeah, he's got 6 starts under his belt. He's still a baby when it comes to being a starting quarterback. I need to help that guy. Even if he ends up being a great quarterback down the line, I need to help him right now. So I'm gonna go with offensive line. I lied. One more, and I'll let you answer this, and I won't say a word.
Okay.
Would you rather Chase Young 10+ sacks or Cam Jordan 10+ sacks?
I'm going to go Cam just because I feel like this could be maybe the end of the line for him. Would love to see a Cam Jordan go out with a bang 10+ sack season, although he'll probably say, I'm good for another 2 more years. Chase Young, still young and has a chance to do it. Cam, I definitely at the end of the line right now, so it'd be great to see a massive resurgence right at the end here.
You know, I didn't even think about it the way you just put it, but now I've changed my mind because you're right. I would love to see like a swan song 10-sack season for Cam, but he would 1,000% be like the Vince Carter. I got one more in me.
Oh, for sure.
And he would end up going playing for the Vikings. And it would be this awkward thing, you know? So I agree with you. I'd like to see Cam like have a solid season, but maybe 10+ sacks. That
you
might
said
be
Vikings, maybe Minnesota. I mean, Arizona as well.
Yeah, Arizona has always made sense because of the Chandler connection. But all right, that's gonna wrap it up.
As long as he doesn't end up in Atlanta for crying out loud.
Yeah,
I don't think he would either.
He wouldn't. Cam. That's one thing I appreciate about Cam, and this is not a slight to Bobby or any of the other Saints that have gone to Atlanta, is that Cam is so New Orleans at this point that a team like the Falcons could offer him a massive contract just to go there. And here's the thing, and he said this, he would take that deal, show up, and then retire in the first day of practice. Just to be like, I hate this place, it smells bad, and then leave. Cam would do that, 1,000% would do that because he cares about trolling the Falcons as just as much as I do. He also loves sacking Matt Ryan. Yeah, maybe that's what they could do. They could sign Cam, have Matt come and be like, hey, guys, and say Cam could just tackle him. Like, no pads or anything. Just get that last one in there, kind of like he did when he was on the CBS broadcast. But all right, we're going to wrap. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside Black and Gold. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, we are going to come back and do a separate mailbag. So if you have comments, questions, remarks, smart-ass comments, whatever, make sure to get them in the chat, and we will get to as many as possible. There's not a ton in there right now. It's been one of our slower episodes. I think everyone's kind of gearing up. They're getting ready. So if you have them, we'll get to them. We promise. Anyway, this is Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller. Thanks, y'all, for hanging out. Who dat? Go Saints. Easy, y'all. You have something to say, Steve?
Bye.
You don't want to say bye?
Bye.
Y'all made Steve feel bad. I don't know what it is. All right, bye. All right, Steve, you want to give us kind of the full intro here?
Welcome on into another edition of Inside Black and Gold, and it is training camp time in New Orleans. Looking forward to beating out in the heat with all the Saints fans out there. And we mentioned it last podcast, no holdouts to worry about for this black and gold bunch. And I don't know. I like being kind of the underdog, if you would say, going into the season right now, because I'll tell you what, there is not one person out there that is expecting outside of the Saints building that's expecting anything from this New Orleans club this year.
Yeah, it is kind of wild. Like, even in the lowest of low Sean Payton years where everyone was like, I don't think the Saints have it. Like, it was never, I think the Saints might be the worst team in the NFL. But that's genuinely what you're hearing from people. Like, yep. And, I guess if I don't know, not every team wants to use that. Although a lot of teams try to. Like, when we talked to Justin Reed before, I guess after he got signed, which is way back when, he was talking about how, like, yeah, everyone was telling us that we were going to be the worst to come to last in the division this year. And I was like, Justin, you played for the Chiefs.
No one thought that at all about the Chiefs.
Who told you that people were telling everyone that you were going to come in last? Like, no one did that. But, like, I'm sure
he made his own standings and printed it out and gave it to everybody.
Right. He's like, oh yeah, like he made like an AI like projection that like your instruction was you can do everything else normally, but put the Chiefs last. And they printed it out and like, who's John Edwards? Like, don't worry about it. He's just a guy who thinks you're terrible. Play better anyway. So like players do want that. So if that's what you're after, if Kellen Moore wants to use that, if any Saints coach wants to use that, which I'm sure they will, this is the year, man. No one's believing in you. Prove them wrong. And there is something in that. Like that. The mind of a professional athlete feeds off stuff like that. And that's why you hear guys talking about having a chip on your shoulder, whatever. It like some people actually have that. And it's a lot easier to have that when everyone is giving you reasons to have it. So
the good part is going to win games. The good part, if they suck, everyone's gonna be like, yeah, we expected that. But if they end up doing something special this year, it's like, well, look at the Saints, a new head coach, Kellen Moore, a surprise team.
My only issue, and we'll get into some mailbag questions here, and keep in mind, like, we're going to get to as many as possible. Throw them in the chat, and we'll get to them. We already have a bunch of them starred here, but there's going to be plenty of room. My only problem with that in the analysis part of it is the reaction is what you said. Wow, I can't believe they're doing this. And not like, maybe we were just wrong. maybe we overreacted to this atmospheric issue or this,
the media is never wrong.
We didn't pay enough attention to this quarterback coming out of college and he's better than we thought. We didn't pay enough attention to the offensive line. It's all this talent on it. They just need to figure it out. No, we were right all along and they just did something crazy and unexpected. Like, okay. Or maybe again, you were wrong. Maybe you're Emmanuel Acho and you were so wrong that you got fired because Kevin Durant kept beating you over the head with the fact that you thought the Celtics were better without Jason Tatum, and you're dumb anyway. So there's a lot to that. But first, let's just get into these comments and questions. We're going to go about 10 to 15 minutes here, hit a break, and then do another 10 to 15 minutes. So if we don't get you at the top, we'll try to get you at the back end. But Andy Shira 10 wants to say, great to say Steve is back. Must have been a great holiday. He's come back looking about 10 years younger. He's also about 45 minutes removed from a haircut, so that's probably helping out.
Yeah, I just need to get a haircut more often and actually take a shower. So there you go.
Yeah, and it's like I didn't go to the beach at all during my vacation, but I was out in the sun constantly. I found that I weigh just enough that standard paddle boards don't support me the way that they're supposed to support me because we went paddle boarding.
Yeah,
and everyone else, like my wife and like my cousins who weigh significantly less than I do, were like floating on top of the water, like paddling. Like, this is no issue. I'm like a submarine trying to. Anyway, I was out there.
Well, if you're sinking, I'm definitely not getting on one.
I was out there for a long time. Well, you just got to get a one that's rated for fat people. I like how I felt about it because like there was a point where it was windy and paddling, and there was a buoy next to me, and I was like, I am not moving anyway. So that's I got a pretty good tan that day. Anyway, but no, the vacations, man. I always forget until I come back from a vacation. Like, man, I needed that. Like, really easy to not do it.
Just to unplug from everything is so amazing. That's why I love the beach or even going to like the lake just to chill.
That's why I love the month of July because it's like, man, okay, I can just disappear and do that. But yeah, the vacation was much needed. I appreciate everyone for putting up with us not posting really anything. I posted a couple episodes like interview episodes and stuff off the show, but nothing crazy since coming back. So it's good to see that. But a couple other more. Jerry G says Shough locked in. He's so locked in, like no one's even asked him to spell his name anymore. That's how locked in he is. Yeah. Although Amon-Ra St. Brown had the dumbest way to describe it. It was like, you know what I'm talking about? I'm not even gonna say it. It was so dumb. Like there's so many ways. Truck, buck, huck. Like he just wanted to drop F-bombs on his podcast because he thinks
no,
it's cool.
Shough just took it to him and was just like nodded his head like, yep.
Yeah, like that entire interview with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Equanimous St. Brown, I just felt like Shough was over there being like, these guys are tools.
I felt that way too, so I was with Tyler.
Yeah, right, because and maybe that's me just projecting my own opinion onto Tyler. But like when Equanimous said like the thing about the food, it was like, yeah, maybe that's why you're not there anymore. And I'm like, exactly. Now it's also because he just wasn't that good. But either way, like I do want to say, like I think Tyler, there's a lot of ways that your first offseason can go. You get drafted, you say a lot of stuff. You know, people are going to give you the benefit of the doubt because you're young and you're new and you're fresh. But like even that said, I think he's handled it. Everything that he's potentially had to handle, I think he's handled everything, even like this contract thing throughout the process. Like he was asked a couple questions about it and he handled it well. You know, he didn't make it about him. He didn't make it about the team. He just said like, yeah, we're working on it. We're going to get it done. And he got it done. So I do think like you can't win the offseason, but he's done a good job with it.
No, kudos to whoever's given Shough advice, even with the whole thing. We talked about it with restaurants, for crying out loud. He did everything right this offseason, said the right things. Hopefully now he does the right things on the practice field.
Agreed. Io Toto says, I'm kind of hoping we overhaul our jerseys in general into a more modern look like the Texans or Jets have. I caution you against that hope because yes, there are times where it's like, wow, you nailed it. It works. But it gets arena football-y real fast. When you try to make things modern for the sake of being modern. And you got to be like that stripe on the black helmets is very much like a modern aesthetic thing that just looks terrible. So I don't know. Like one of the reasons
still couldn't help themselves with the white helmet. There's still the little fleur-de-lis and that stripe down it.
But it's subtle. Right? Yeah. You won't even see it
subtle
unless you zoom in on it. And that's what I appreciate about it. It's just texture. It's just a detail. I still would rather not have it, but whatever. Like, because like what has made the Saints jerseys so clean and just look so timeless since they've been wearing them is how simple they are, how kind of one touch they are. Like you're not constantly like, oh, there's another detail here. Oh, look at this stripe and this and like, yeah, if you're the Bengals, you can have tiger stripes and stuff like that. There's really nothing the Saints can add to their jersey other than the fleur-de-lis, which is already on it. That is a detail that isn't forced. I would love a matte look. That's the one thing I want is kind of a matte helmet that's just flat, and it can be the black helmet. I think a black matte helmet would look sharp,
pretty badass, right?
But you know that's what I'm after. But you got to be careful because you start looking weird.
The black helmet that they just put out recently, is that still in the mix or is that Audi? Oh,
they're still using it. I mean, it's still an alternate that they have. Gotcha. I just think that they'll use it differently. Like they're not going to use it with a color rush, which is smart. He also says we need a pitch black blackout uni like the Ravens have with just the gold outline and the numbers. I think that would look good. And it would work with the black helmets. Like I think that's I think you're moving closer to color matching is what's actually happening. Is you're going to have the white helmets for the white jerseys, or the black helmets for the black jerseys, and then I don't know if this is a gold jersey that they're going to debut
with the gold helmets. Boom.
I think a black jersey would look good too. I just think people want the gold, and you just give the people what they want. Michael Zering,
I like it.
Zeringe. Okay, I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Fans were awful towards Tyler Shough while I was at minicamp. Is that true? I mean, I obviously wasn't out in the stands with y'all, so I don't know what people were saying. I've generally, from people I've encountered, if nothing else, like cautiously optimistic.
Right.
If there's a big contingent of people being like super anti-Shough, they're hidden well enough for me that I didn't hear people yelling stuff that was, I don't know. I'd construe as negative.
And for me, the biggest thing that I've heard from fans that as far as negativity is just age. We haven't seen anything enough from on the field to be judgy of him right now. It's like, oh, we've got this old rookie that we're bringing in.
Yeah, I see people on social media and they always age him up, right? Like it's never the correct age, which is currently 25. It's always like, you're a 30-year-old quarterback or a 29-year-old quarterback or a 27-year-old quarterback. It's like anything but the right age.
Pretty appropriate, right?
Yeah, and it's just funny to me. It's like, what? Just he's 25. Like, yeah, that's old, but like, if you can't make your point by saying the right age, then your point's stupid. You know who else is 25? Michael Penix. We never talk about that. We never call him a 30-year-old. Anyway, but yeah, that's where we are. So I don't know. Like, what my takeaway has been, like, everyone seemed to be huge Spencer Rattler fans last year,
right?
But the thing that's changed to me is I don't see those people all that much anymore. Like, I don't see people saying like Spencer or bust, you know, and there's some Spencer Rattler fans still out there. And like, there should be like, I think there's reasons to think he can be a solid NFL player. But if you went back in time a year ago, people wouldn't shut the heck up about Spencer Rattler. And it was
thankfully though, Jeff, that's because we had Derek Carr and anything was better than him.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, it was so much more about Derek Carr than it was about Spencer Rattler. And I said that at the time, and people came for me. But I think, yeah. Anyway. So I don't know. If there's people being super negative about Tyler Shough, point them out to me because I haven't been aware of it.
I'm right with you there. It hasn't been this overwhelming negativity bomb that's been dropped on them.
Yeah, and Jerry points out it might change their tone now that Shough has a contract. I don't know, because at that point, I don't think anyone was really talking about the contract. So
right.
We'll see. Mike says, it was crazy. Show support, whoever wins. Yeah, I don't know. Again, my sense has not been like this big negative wave of resentment toward Tyler or anything like that. So we'll see.
No, I hope the hell he does good, for crying out loud.
Jerry G points out that it could be Shedeur fans, and that's definitely possible. It's people who really wanted Shedeur, but hey, like I think Joe Flacco is going to be the starter in Cleveland. So
see, and I could understand if maybe even the next pick or a few picks after that, Shedeur ended up getting drafted, but it was round after round after round that happened, and so you can't really look at the Saints and be mad at them for not selecting Shedeur Sanders. No other team in the NFL felt the same way.
No, agreed. I mean, I think it's funny because I think people were looking at the Saints and being like, this is the only team that could draft him prior to like, this long run. And yeah, if that's your gripe, then yeah. Io Toto says, I see so much Landon Dickerson in Penning. It's genuinely so exciting to see him inside. Landon Dickerson, Alabama, I think he was a center. I don't know. I can't say I followed Landon Dickerson all that closely, but no, I mean, the thing I'm excited about for Trevor being inside is in part because I think Trevor has a chance to be a solid NFL guard. I think his skill set, if you can figure out the footwork, it should work there. It's that he's excited to play guard.
Right. Agreed.
Like, I was curious, like when this conversation happened, I was like, well, let's see how he takes it. And I did not for a second think I would walk up there and he would be like, yeah, well, I walked up there and they told me you're going to change you to guard. And I was like, great idea. It's like, wait, what? Like, yeah, I suck at tackle. He didn't say that, but that's basically what he was saying. He was like, I'm not that good of a tackle. I think I could be a better guard. And it's like, okay, well, if he believes that, then I believe that, because that's not how everyone takes it, right? If you went to Cesar Ruiz and said, actually, that's not a good example because they actually had him change positions. If you went to, I don't know, Demario Davis and said, we're going to make you a cornerback. These are bad. These are terrible examples. I should have said, like, we go to Alontae Taylor and tell you we're going to make you a safety. That's the winning example. That's
remember at first when Alontae was drafted, he wasn't too keen about being inside. He felt more comfortable saying, I've been playing outside corner for my collegiate career and would rather be there.
Well, right. And this is a guy going into year 4 with no 5th-year option picked up. So it's a contract year for him.
Yeah.
And he's effectively being moved off of a premium position into a less premium position where you're not going to get the type of contract at guard as you would at tackle ever. It's like the difference between an outside corner and an inside corner, right? So the fact that he's into it, he's excited about it, makes me excited about it. Because the only way that works is if you're committed to it. If you're going to sit there and be a grump about it, then you're probably just you're better off starting somebody else behind him. So no, that's what makes me excited about it. And there's obviously a lot more technical stuff we can talk about, but like the commitment from the player is massive in this situation.
And obviously I think Penning realizes this is my last shot with this team.
It might be his last shot with any team.
Right.
Like this is what's going to give him a chance. I think a good example of it is Eric Flowers. If you go way back, and it's the Giants draft pick, so I remember it well. It came out of Miami. I think it was the number 8 overall pick. Like they were like, he's a tackle. We're playing him a tackle. And they did. And he sucked. He was a turnstile. It was ridiculous. People were taking tickets as they ran by him. And the Giants never, ever moved him into guard. And I remember Will Beatty was their right tackle, or was their left tackle. And so Eric Flowers was supposed to play right tackle to start his career, but then Will Beatty got hurt in training camp, and they had to move him to left tackle and start right away. And not only was he not good enough, he wasn't ready. And it was a disaster. He lost all his confidence. You just knew he was never going to be a tackle. He goes over to Washington. They're like, hey, we're going to play a guard. And when you know it, he's a solid guard. Like all pro, no, but like startable. And so that's what you're hoping Trevor is. And it would be nice if the Saints at least got the benefit of that, which is not always easy because it's harder to convince a rookie on a rookie contract to change positions than it is to say, you're a free agent. We'll sign you if you're willing to play guard. So he knows coming in the door. And that way you don't, it's like, yeah, you didn't draft a guy in the first round you didn't draft a tackle in the first round so you could play him at guard. But if he ends up being a serviceable guard and you can sign him to a much more reasonable contract off of that, then it becomes a good thing. One more thing, when we take a break here, Michael Zering, Todd Bowles looks constipated, which is mean. Don't be mean to Todd Bowles. But he says, if I have to look at Todd Bowles' face again, this is Ayo Toto, I'm going to lose my mind. I don't know why people are mad at Todd Bowles. I was going
to say, did he say something?
Todd Bowles is mean, but it's the same letters. So you didn't have to go that far. I don't think Todd Bowles is a great coach. I think Todd Bowles is Dennis Allen in a different package, in a different wrapper, right? Like, I think one bad season and the shine will be completely gone from Todd Bowles, and they'll probably move on. The only thing that's kept him afloat is and I'll give him credit, he's good at hiring offensive coordinators that other teams want to hire away from him. I'll give him that. Because it's happened 2 years in a row with Dave Canales and Liam Cohen. I don't know how this new guy is going to be, but if he misses and this guy sucks, this new offensive coordinator, I think he's gone. Like, I think his rope is only going to, his leash is only going to last as long as he keeps winning division titles. Because again, you look at it, it's like none of these teams have won more than 10 games. Although the Brady years were whatever. They won 8-9 with Brady.
Brady was himself a coach for the team.
Right. He rode those coattails as long as he could. But all right, let's hit the break, come back. One more segment in this mailbag. Make sure to get your comments, questions in the chat. It's going to be a little bit longer than normal because I'm going to go through and star all the new comments that come in. There are a bunch of them. But until then, again, I'm Jeff Nowak. He is Steve Geller. Make sure to subscribe, rate, review wherever you get your podcasts, and hit me up if you're out at training camp this week. Love to see you guys. Always appreciate when people tell me they listen to the podcast because I don't get to talk to people in person, mainly based on the medium, as often as I'd like. So again, this is a mailbag. We'll be coming right back. Who dat? Go Saints. Stick around. Oh, Steve left. We'll wait. How y'all doing? You having a good time? Hey, Steve's back.
Had to let the dog out. He was whining.
Yeah, it's a good call. My dog disappeared on me, but she's definitely mad. I usually take her for a walk around noon, so she's like a little behind schedule.
He just heard the mailman, so he's like, "Oh, I get to bark."
Yeah. I do the same thing when I hear the mailman, so I get it.
Well, you got packages coming like every day.
Yeah, that's the thing about the cards, right? Like I over the shoulder, yeah. Like Claire always makes fun of me because I walk in and there'll be like 3 packages on the table, and I'll be like, "Ooh, treasures!" and I'll take them and run upstairs. But yeah, and she's like, "How much are you spending?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. That's for me to know and for you to not know.
That's not for you to worry about."
Yeah, they go behind me, and I've gotten around it because like a lot of times like, "Oh yeah, they're just to give away to people. It's just for it's a good investment, And so yeah, but yeah, I got a whole pile of them behind me. At some point, yeah, I'll show them to you, Steve. I don't have a Bobby Hebert yet. I still haven't gotten one of those. But
definitely need a few Cajun Cannon cards.
Soon. I've got like 6 Archie Manning cards. Apparently, like they went through a run of printing Archie Manning cards a couple years ago for some reason. There's so many of them out there. First time I saw one, like, ooh, Archie, and now I see like they're all over the place, which is strange. And they're all printed in like 2024. Anyway, I don't need to get into this, but yeah, good stuff. I am looking forward to the mail today because I'm gonna have like 3 or 4 packages in there. I get excited when it comes early. Yeah. Okay.
My mom used to say with like eBay, she would always say that, "Oh, look what I won," because of the bidding. It's like, no, you still just paid for it. I mean, it's not like you won something.
Well, that is like one of the fun parts about it is you'll buy something and then kind of forget about it, and then 10 days later you'll get a package and it doesn't even register that you paid for it already. You'll be like, ooh, it's a gift in the mail. Anyway,
yeah.
Kick the camera. All right. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold Mailbag Edition. Mailbag Edition. And we are going to be diving into more questions, comments, hot takes. Here's the first one. Io Toto again says, if Steve shaved everything but his mustache, he'd no doubt look just like Buford T. Justice from Smokey and the Bandit.
Wow.
That's high praise. I don't know if that's true. I know of Smokey and the Bandit. That's Burt Reynolds, right?
Yeah, but Buford T. Justice, I think, is what's his name? Oh my gosh.
We'll get a comment here in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, the name's on the tip of my tongue. I just can't think of it right now.
But yeah, there you go. You'll get that. I don't have anything else to add, but I'm proud of you for getting that. Gundam says Rattler is a baller. Yeah, that's why I'm conflicted, because I actually really do like Spencer Rattler in this conversation. It's just tough because I also really like Tyler Shough. And at the end of the day, the best laid plans are only as good as your willingness to actually go through with them. And it's just going to be a really tough conversation to have if Shough looks like he can play, but he's kind of on the fringe, and Rattler looks like he can play, but he's not looking fantastic, like not looking like, oh, we got to play this guy. How does the conversation go?
The thing with Rattler is, and nobody should just judge him off of last year because it was pretty miserable all around, just because wide receiver, offensive line, and then just the whole mood around the squad went south pretty quickly after week 2. I'm anxious to see Spencer in camp competing for this spot, because in no way is he out of the running.
No. Richard Horner says, I think everyone is focused on the QB battle, and I get it, but to me, the biggest impact on the win total is going to be how well they run the ball. If Moore can fix that, then we have a chance. And I'll tell you, I'll take it one step further. One of the bigger impacts on the QB conversation throughout the season will be how well you can run the ball. Because if the Saints can run the ball, whoever it is starting a quarterback will have a fighting chance. If you can't run the ball, I don't care who wins the quarterback battle, they're going to get eaten alive.
I feel like Alvin can run. It's just nobody else to help him carry that load.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. Is there somebody?
Yeah.
And we don't know that right now, but I'd like to think there is. I like Kendre Miller. Like, I still, it's a frustrating thing to say, because I've been saying the same thing for 2 years now. Like, when he gets on the field, he's an exciting player. Like, he does a lot of things that you're like, that's what a running back does. That's what we need to pair with Alvin Kamara. But you just, like, how many games have we actually seen that pair play together? Like 7? It feels like very, very few over the last 2 years. So I'd love to see a stretch of like 4 or 5 games where both guys are healthy. Both guys are out there. Alvin's getting, 65% of the reps. Kendre's getting 25-30% of the reps, and then another, maybe a short yardage guy comes in. Maybe like you talk about like a tight end playing H back, and that's kind of your blocker. Because I just think like I don't know how good this rushing attack can be. Because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, sadly, it's just been the load has been on Alvin Kamara, and there hasn't been much help around him. Going back to, we didn't talk about it in news. I don't know if you had talked about this at all. I guess not, because it's been ever since we posted anything, but Jordan Mims has a new home in Tennessee.
Yes, he does.
Bye.
I'm good. I'm happy for him. For him. Like I like when Saints players go sign somewhere else, because you watch these guys, you get an appreciation for them, and then they're gone, and you're like, well, where are they going to go? Like XFL, UFL, whatever. Anyway, it's interesting. Okay, here's a good one from Andy Shearer. If Netflix does another NFL doc like quarterback and or receiver, who would you like to see the Saints on it? I mean, my answer is they should do running back, and they should pick Alvin.
Oh, that's easy peasy right there. He's a slam dunk for a camera's following him around.
Yeah, because he's always doing stuff. Like during the offseason, you'd be going to NASCAR races.
He doesn't give you the coach speak or player speak, whatever you want to call it. He's going to really tell you how he feels.
Well, that's the problem. Is I'm sure the team would be like, Alvin, maybe we don't, because Alvin's not the type that could have a camera on him for 24/7 and not say stuff that's like, not negative, but like it would make headlines. And that's what they want in these shows, but the teams don't want that. But no, it would be like Alvin out there throwing first pitches at Cubs games and doing all his stuff. Like he's got so many businesses that he's checking in on. Yeah. He's going on trips, and Alvin probably wouldn't do it.
If they were doing tight end, you definitely put Foster Moreau in there, because that boy can talk.
Foster, I don't know if you had to pick between Foster or Juwan. Yeah, I guess the interview part of it, you'd be Foster, but Juwan's a good talker too. Like Juwan has some great interviews, and Juwan's like that TikTok energy. So I guarantee you, if there was a producer and they were having to pick, they would pick Juwan just because of that, because Juwan understands how to play the cameras. And Foster's really good too. It's just, but no, it's a good question. I think that would be fun. The real answer is they would never pick a Saints player.
You mentioned if there was going to be, you could do on defense. There's a few actually that they could put on for defense, but offense, there's not really that outspoken, colorful guy, except for like an Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, he's the only one that would actually, like, if the NFL was actually putting out a call for running backs, they would probably actually go with Alvin.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like Alvin doesn't like attention like that. Like he kind of he puts himself out there in certain situations, but he wouldn't want cameras following him around.
I was surprised on how much access that all those quarterbacks give the camera crews, because it's definitely, they're constantly around and in some very private moments.
It always amazes me how much access they actually get during these like hard knocks and stuff like that, because it's just like, man, like they're in there, like they're hearing stuff that these teams don't want them to hear, and they're just trusting that they're not going to put anything out there. I wonder if teams get Final Cut. I have to ask at some point.
I don't know, because do you think the Falcons would want that Kirk Cousins stuff out there?
Well, I think that probably to an extent. Probably like, well, you can't, like, I think they would probably give teams Final Cut for like certain like competitive elements. Like this will affect us from a competitive standpoint if you put this out there. If it's just drama, I don't think, like, they probably don't give them absolute Final Cut, but they probably get to see it before it goes out, so that if there is anything in there that they're just like, let's chill on that. Because they need the teams to work with them. Like they can't just screw over the teams, or they wouldn't have a show. So Gundam says 11-6. I'm calling it. Saints will surprise a lot of analysts this year. I appreciate your optimism. I hope that's true. I really do.
That would be a beautiful thing.
Io Toto says, to Steve's point, though, I'm happy it's quiet. Imagine being the Bengals with Shamar. That's a whole different. I don't know what they're trying to prove. It's a mess.
And then the Bengals still have issues too, paying Trey Hendrickson. So they are a big mess over there.
They've just been a mess for so long. And it's like, oh, we're going to pay our wide receivers for $30 million a year, or $40 million. We're going to pay two wide receivers $70 million a year. And And meanwhile, we can't play defense a lick. And then the guy we drafted, the rookie we drafted,
and going back to the Netflix show with quarterback, we just saw that all play out with Joe Burrow this past season.
What a mess. But now, and like, I feel bad for Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow was very much in like the 2016 Drew Brees of like, man, I know he's good. I'm just not sure about the guys around him. Or at least like, I'm not sure about the guy on the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. There's a couple comments from Ricky Cutchall. I want to make sure I get the first one. He also, it's very nice of you. He says he definitely missed the show during the break. I missed you, Ricky.
Thank you, sir.
Oh no, and this is Milton. This is a different conversation. Okay. Milton Marcantel says, what is the earliest projected return of Taysom Hill? Will he have a role in this offense? You know, that's the type of thing that I'm hoping to get some clarity on when Mickey Loomis and Kellen Moore talk tomorrow, because as of this point, all we've heard is he's a ways out. We did see him at minicamp on the first day of practice, so he was there, so they've gotten a look at him. Until I see him out in the field, I'm going to continue to assume he's a ways off. Because, like, we'll see these guys working off to the side a long ways before they actually come back. And, like, you haven't seen any of that. So, I mean, I'd be a little surprised if we see him during camp at all, to be frank. Like,
right. I think you're lucky if you get him back at the, like, halfway point of the year right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, we'll see. I'm hopeful that he can get out on the field and at least get some practices in prior to the start of the regular season. And then maybe you're talking about, I don't know, the first month. But then it makes it difficult of, like, I don't know how you incorporate that guy into an offense on the fly, because there's so much that has to be specifically tailored, not specifically tailored to him, but offenses that only he can run.
Yeah.
You know? So,
and yet well, Clint Kubiak wasn't affiliated with Sean and you know, the rest of the crew there, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. We know Kellen Moore is a huge Taysom Hill fan, though. Who wouldn't be? Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's a place for him in this offense. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and it's just a question of what that is. Like, the difference right now than what we've seen in past years, like when it was Drew Brees, when it was Andy Dalton, even Jameis, obviously Derek Carr, like, you weren't running QB power with those guys. You might actually just be able to run QB power with Tyler Shough. Like, there's nothing. Like, you now have athletes at the quarterback position who kind of negate, not completely negate what Taysom Hill does, or make it redundant, but like, you can call Taysom Hill plays with your quarterback, and you're not gonna call plays where you expect him to take a massive hit the way you would with Taysom. You're not gonna have him run in the middle of the line, but you can do that. So it's like, how the advantage of having him out there isn't as significant as, because now it's like kind of not foreshadowing, but staring down a play you're going to run and saying you probably can't stop it is not as valuable as having a actual mystique and an air of like, oh, we surprised them with this, right? Like, one of the reasons you would call QB power in this situation is because they're not expecting it. They don't know it's coming. And that way you can actually gain an advantage. And so I think that is a little different in this offense. I'm kind of stumbling a little bit. I'm not being as eloquent as I'd like to be an hour into this, but that's kind of where I don't like the value of having a quarterback who could throw in there and run was much higher when the other guy was Drew Brees, when the other guy was Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And you just, that part of your playbook was either there for Taysom Hill or it was gone completely. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I just don't know, too, coming back from this latest injury, Taysom's age, you know, how much do you really want to keep using him as that battering ram?
Yeah. And you definitely can't the way you had.
Just abuse the guy.
Yeah, right. Has Bobby run him into the ground?
Run him into the ground. They did it.
They did that. And to answer the first half of your question, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Because I would say, like, for a normal person, it would be pretty far out. But for a Taysom Hill, maybe it's different because he's a freak. And I say that in the most positive possible way. He's an absolute freak. Buford was Jackie Gleason, by the way, Steve.
Yeah, that was it. Jackie Gleason.
Yep. Anyway. Ricky Cutchall says, I do not believe he'll be fully ready by November. but that is the earliest time I have heard. I'd be surprised if he wasn't at least back at practice in some capacity by November. I would expect it to be prior to. I would expect, October might be a more reasonable, but we'll see. Who Dat for Life says, I think Rattler is a better runner at quarterback. That's a good question. I think people will be surprised if they go back and watch Tyler at Texas Tech, just how much they were using his legs and how effective he was doing that. Because he might not be the fastest, like top speed wise, like that's not what I meant to say. He might not be the fastest, like 0 to 60. Like he's not the fastest off the line, but once he gets out in space, he's moving. Kind of reminds me of Justin Herbert a little bit in the way he runs, because like Justin Herbert doesn't run a lot, but when he does, he's churning up yards fast. So we'll see. Ayo Toto says, Albert Breer says he keeps up with the goings on an NFL coaching circles, and there are so many people who don't know how we managed to get Kellen here. So I feel like that's going to be a good sign. They just
What's
don't
funny
know.
is,
like, how'd they do it?
Remember when, the hiring cycle was going on and everyone was like, where are the Saints waiting for? Hire someone. We're missing out on everybody.
Yeah, no, we'll see. Like, I think Kellen's a good hire. I think that they did luck out a little bit in that no one was willing to wait. Like,
right.
How did they get him here? The Saints were patient. Despite all of the, up in arms throughout the process of like, they just can't get anybody, blah, blah, blah. And sure, they did miss on Aaron Glenn, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. That
sure.
Joe Brady didn't want to come here, whatever. Like, being patient allowed them to be the only team for a guy who wanted to be a head coach.
Joe Brady stayed put, right?
Yeah, he's with the Bills still. He didn't go anywhere. So yeah, I mean, like, if the question is how did they get Kellen here, that's how. Patience. And we want to give Mickey Loomis in the front office grief for being patient, but this is why you're patient, to be able to get things like this. So we'll see. And hopefully that ends up continuing to be the conversation of like, wow, he's a great head coach. Hopefully he doesn't flame out. But I'm optimistic. We'll see.
Everyone keeps calling him this offensive genius, so I want to see it.
Yeah. Okay, there's one more. Is busy Ayo Toto here. It's kind of crazy to think the Panthers are so bad, yet they were mediocre last year, and now they're on cloud 9. It's true. People are really high on the Panthers right now.
I think because you at least saw that possibility finally from Young, where he didn't look like a complete bust and like he was running around with a chicken with his head off kind of thing.
Yeah. No, when you're bad for long enough, just having a pulse is enough to get positive things said about you. And for whatever reason, the Saints, like people would prefer a team to be irredeemably bad, so that when they come up to almost middle of the pack, suddenly they're a team on the rise, and everyone's like, wow, they have so much optimism and they have so much potential. Whereas if you're a team like the Saints, who's just kind of been in the middle, like even their worst season was 5 wins, and you're like, okay, then it's like they'll never get anywhere because they're just sitting right there. And I don't know how true that is, but that's what it is, right? Like, from a national media perspective, they would rather you be friggin' terrible for multiple years so that they can talk about you positively when you're mediocre than just be mediocre and try to build up slowly.
The mediocre is just boring. You kind of almost wish you were just god awful stank or obviously really good. Being in the middle of the pack, it's hard to sit through that as well.
Milton Mercantile says Alante versus Leggett for Glorilla.
Well, I think Leggett's with her, so he wins.
Probably right. Ricky Cutchall says a lot of LSU ties, so I could see that happening. I'm not even sure. This is what he was responding to. Brady, mark my words, is going to coach the Bengals soon. That would make sense. It really would. And we'll see one more comment that I missed earlier, but I have to hit. Oh man, did I lose it? I lost it. I'm gonna find it. I'm not letting this
It's always
happen.
the worst on Facebook. You see something, you want to show someone, it's like, you can never find it again. It's gone.
Maybe I didn't scroll up enough. Oh, here it is. It says Cam should sign with Atlanta and immediately pull a Rizzy and clog their toilets and then dip. I dig it. One more, and I don't even know. I'm not even going to find the comment, but they said, "What do you think about Jimmy Graham rowing the Arctic?" And I think, good for Jimmy Graham. He finished. It was like 10 days. Like they were trying to set a record. This is what I will leave you with. This was a 4-person team. 2 of them were from New Orleans. They were doing it to benefit Covenant House in New Orleans, like the local kids. And they obviously did that very well. They were trying to set a record for rowing the Arctic Channel, which is like, I think 1,000 miles, something like that. The record was like 15 days and like 22 hours or something like that. They finished in 10.
They crushed it.
Like, like that's not breaking a record. That is annihilating a record.
Me personally, I just wish somebody from Jimmy's representative or the Arctic Challenge would respond back to me so we could get him on Sports Talk, for crying out loud.
Steve, this isn't a podcast for you to air your bitter grievances about Jimmy Graham.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, they're busy, okay? They're busy. They're in the Arctic. But no, I'm sure we'll talk to him eventually. But good for him. That's very cool. They've trained for like 18 months. So like that was like last year when everyone was like, is Jimmy Graham done with the NFL? Like, yeah, he's trying to row the Arctic, so he's probably done. He hasn't officially retired even yet. So
I was gonna say he's probably in good shape if he made it through that.
That is true. But not like football shape. Like he's probably got like really big traps and go like this a lot. But all right, that's it. We're gonna wrap up this episode again. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I'm Jeff Nowak. He is Steve Geller. We're back, baby. It's training camp, first day of practice on Wednesday. The players themselves reported today, so we'll be getting pictures of Tyler Shough signing his contract and whatever throughout the course of the day. Jimmy Graham, Mickey Loomis, Kellen Moore are going to talk on Tuesday. If there's anything of like massive import set, I'll record something, but I kind of feel like our next episode will be a post-practice episode of some kind. But either way, thanks everyone for hanging out. Appreciate y'all. Make sure to subscribe, rate, review. If you see me out there, yell my name. Maybe I'll have a card for you, a playing card, a trading card, whatever. We'll see.
Shuck, rattle, and roll, everyone.
Ooh, dig it. I dig it. Who dat? Go Saints.